Welcome to episode 7 of Chandramala Mindful Business Consultancy, where we are aligning your business and your people for an elevated experience. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to go very far back to the very beginning. We've just come back from a reflective session and you've had time to really analyze your own perceptions, your feelings, your emotions and your strategy as to where you're wanting to take your business. Now we go very back to the heartbeat. We check the actual frequency or the heartbeat percentage. We will also have a look at the internal flow. Does anything need to shift there? We also have a dialogue session around to see what is shifted within the internal flow. Have any of you observed or noticed that there's a better flow, there's more communication, there's more harmony, there's a lot more excitement and enthusiasm in certain departments, and it's very good to actually reflect on those changes. And so it's good to go back to those various departments, because they often don't know what we are doing here on an executive level, is to find out how things are moving in those internal sectors of your business. And as we reflect on that, we will have a look and see, does anything else need to shift? Is everybody in the position that they need? Have we got all the processes in place? Perhaps there is some training that you need, or perhaps there's a team building session, or perhaps there's a CSI, a project that you need to intervene into a certain department. It's very important that at this stage of our business alignment process that we go back to the very beginning, we recheck everything, because each session something is changing, because we are evolving beings and our business, being a living organism, also evolves as we do. And so going back to the internal flow, we have a look and see, all right, I see in this department there's still a little bit of friction, or we find and we notice that still the enthusiasm around this new approach or some change that we brought into the business 6 months again hasn't quite been adapted, hasn't quite been embraced with people. And so we have a look at, perhaps there's another emotion, perhaps there's something there that still hasn't quite shifted. And so we may find that in this time, at this process, we may need to do another little alignment in order to see, all right, what else is there? And always remembering that when we are shifting things on an emotional level, there's so many different layers. And so often people say to me, oh, but I got rid of that grief. I've sorted that out years ago. I still have grief over my mom that passed away 26 years ago. I think it's a little bit longer. And so we need to realize that as emotional beings, we need to shift things on various levels. And so perhaps just in that department, we need to shift something on a slightly deeper level, just to create more flow. We don't want to just shift things a little bit. We want to make sure that we shift it at an optimal level so that we can get the most advantage and benefit out of the process. And then we have a look at the actual alignment percentage of each department. All right, we're happy. Dialogue process with you and myself. Are you happy that that department's on 85%? I'm sure you're not. So we'll have a look and see if that needs to shift. I'm always happy when things are between 95 and 98%. Sometimes, on rare occasions, they do go over 100, but then they normally kind of equalize around about 95 to 98%. But remember, this is where the work is. We can shift things here on this level, here in the process, but it now requires the consistency and the commitment and the actual action. It's the doing thereafter that is so important. But also knowing that everybody that has sat in on this process is aligned and they're motivated, they're energized, and there's so much more in alignment with the greater good for the business. So it's a lot easier to now bring that across into the various departments. We then go back to the external side, and so this is always interesting, because most times relationships on the external level have shifted radically. And so we may find that a supplier out of the blue, and remember, when we did the external alignment, we may have a client or a supplier that was a catalyst. Not that they were a problem, but they were a catalyst to facilitate the process. And we find that another client or another supplier, there's been a radical shift for them. They've either given us a better price or the service has improved. So somewhere along the line, there's been some sort of really positive improvement. And so these things that we are doing here, in actual fact, really does affect on the outside. And it's amazing to see those results. And so with all the clients I've worked with, they've always come back to me to say that the relationships with their external partners and clients have shifted. And it's something we can't really explain, But it's exactly the same as what Mandela said. If you want to see the change in the world, you've got to be the change. And so this is where the change happens. It happens with you, not with your supplier. So if you're not happy with your supplier, you've got to change something within yourself. So we check the percentage of the external level. We're all happy. We come to an understanding, an agreement. Okay, that supplier or that client's not in alignment with my value system. Doing business with them is damaging my reputation. Then we rather source another partner to have as a client. So it's a very important, it's a very strategic approach, it's a very in-depth approach, and it's also very important that we have the right mindset when we're obviously processing all of this and taking the action steps thereafter. And then moving from the external space, we look at all the people involved, we look at yourselves, and we once again we go into that reflective space. And we may find as well that we've somewhere along the line in the process we've checked your percentage. And so often people say to me, but my business, the business was vibrating at say 40%, and I was vibrating, my heartbeat towards the business was on 50%. And I'd love to see what that is at the moment. And this is where the radical shifts, because we're doing the work. And so remember, nothing can change unless you actually do the work, and even through a dialogue process. And so when we actually check the directors and the executive or the team that is working on the process, we check their percentages and their alignment to themselves and their vision and their goals, etc. It's amazing what a difference that is. And when we physically see the percentages of what we started to the percentages that we ended up, that is the aha moment for most people. So trust that you are having an aha moment at the moment. And if you want to have more, we can always touch base and we can have a session to have a look at your heartbeat and your percentage as well. So look forward to seeing you next week for our final session and our recap. Look forward. Thank you. Bye-bye.